wiring up the trans brake, and here's what's going on. I took this red wire that goes to this switch. This red wire runs over there to that switch panel, which is a 12-volt source. This black wire runs right down in this hose, down through the floor. And the black wire comes from the floorboard down around here, and then I got it tied in and all the way around into this trans brake here, so it's protected. It's not going to chafe and rub and ground out or anything. This hose isn't very heat resistant, but I don't think it'll be a big deal as long as the wire doesn't chafe. And the next step is going to be to figure out how to send that signal to the ECM. I have a wire for it, but I have to do some studying and figure that out. But since I got the 12 volts going to it, I'm thinking I might start the car and try it. Okay, see how much stroke this has got? It was all the way up here. So I'm gonna run this nut up. It's probably gonna take I'm probably gonna have to get a wrench at some point. Yeah, so I'm gonna run that up a few inches and see what happens. Okay, that's right at 3.5 inches. So I'm gonna do the other side that way. But I'm gonna put the wheel on this side and test it. Alright, so there's where it is now at 3.5 inches. There's a couple inches of stroke there. When I take it for a ride, we'll see how well it does. Alright, then first gear, push the button. Trans brake. 55 miles an hour and it's not shaking near as bad. It must have been that the shocks was bottoming out. It's riding a whole lot better now. That's 70. So to connect this little harness for the trans brake, the instructions here, they say this will be an H-type input in the ECU, and it will come with a pin pre-crimped. Okay, H-type. This is the H-type here. So white and red or white and blue for inputs that have the H type. The ECU pin is A3 or A12, and I've determined that the white and red one is an open wire that I haven't used yet, which is A3. This is P1A, and on the sides here you can read that right there by my fingernail is a letter number 3, and so the instructions I found say to push down on that one and it unlocks it, and then push down on those two to lock it. So I'm gonna unlock this, pull out the red and white wire there, it's like the third one over, and then I'm gonna take the blue wire from the harness that I just got, which is this right here. That's the part number, and I'm supposed to connect this blue wire to that I just showed you. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Okay, so I very carefully push that, being careful not to pull on the wires at all, and then I pop this one out, pop this one in, and pushed it back down, and everything snapped in real easy. I was real careful not to pull on this while it was unlocked, because then you got to sit there probably and push in every wire till you figure out which one wasn't all the way in. So I went ahead and ran it through here first so I wouldn't have to worry about that. And now I pull this out, splice it into the splice. I'm not sure, probably the red wire. Splice the red wire into the 12-volt power source. The switch source, so probably the black wire coming off my switch, because that's the one that goes to the trans brake, and then the black wire goes to a chassis ground, and that's it. Okay, so I wired this fuse in too. The wire coming right out of this hole here that goes straight to the trans brake goes into this fuse on one side and then goes to the switch on the other, and this is where I tied in right on the power wire to the trans brake. That's the red wire that goes to the little harness I bought, and it's fused, right, an inline fuse there just to make sure it's safe. Anyway, that's it. Hopefully now I got to get in the computer and I got to plug the computer back in, then I got to get in there and make sure the settings are right. Okay, so I just got off the phone with Holley, and while I still remember this, I'm going to go through it so I can remind myself later if I need to. Rev limiters in the spark box. Go to that. Enable rev limiter 1, spark high only, 3200 is what I'm setting it at for now. Then go over here to spark and click launch retard, and I didn't mess with any of it. I just clicked enable and then retard number 1 tight, activate with input, and that is pretty much all you got to do. Well, then you got to go to the pin map, and under inputs, this is input, you drag down from up here the H, launch retard, and H, rev limiter number 1. If it's not H, then you've done something wrong with your setup. These are my outputs. electric fans, and water pump. And it's different if you're boosted. I'm not boosted. I'm just naturally aspirated. And this is how I'm setting up, according to what Holley said to do. For inputs and outputs, you don't need nothing there. I thought you did, but you don't need nothing there. Or I didn't anyway, so I didn't have to enable any trans brakes or rev limiters in that screen. All I had to do was the rev limiters and the launch retard, and then wire it up the way the instructions say to. And that is for part number 554128. And these are the wiring instructions. I connected the red wire to the trans brake switch, the positive side there. And the blue wire went to the A3 output pin, which was very easy to do. And then the black wire, I just wired it to the chassis, and that was it. One more thing to add in spark inputs. You go to your rev limiter 1 and set it for 12 volts, and your launch retard and set it for 12 volts. And that's in the spark, under the spark plug on inputs. And that'll make sure that you have the H that you need.